Here we go. Good evening. Welcome to another night with Scuba and The Ry. What's
Ry
up, Ry?
Guy. It is the guy of the Ry.
You know, somebody
Ry
asked me
Guy.
about our show over the weekend.
Okay.
And I was trying to explain the name so they could look it up. And I was like, Scuba and The Ry. And he's like, how to spell it? I was like, R-Y. He was thinking like, you know, something else.
Yes.
And then I sat there and said the inspiration of the name,
Yeah.
which was a play on Catcher and the Rye.
Oh, yeah.
So, a little interesting tidbit, but, you know, doing that marketing, getting that stuff out there.
Hopefully, you know, get a subscriber, you know, on Google, Apple, and Spotify.
Oh, yes.
Subscribe today.
Or subscribe here to the channels, your Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, Facebook page, all that info there.
Everywhere in between, you can find us.
Oh, yeah. So, it's Tuesday night.
Another Tuesday night.
Tuesday, you know, it's cold, man.
The weather is as schizophrenic as ever.
I know, right? So, yep. Hey, Shadow Mains, how you been?
Hey there.
So, yeah, this cold weather.
No. It's funny. It's like because at one part it was really nice and hot but abnormal, and then all of a sudden now it's way below normal.
Dude, I was at the office yesterday, and it was flurries all day, light flurries, like, you know, little teeny tiny specks.
I saw them.
But it was like, wait, what?
It don't make any sense.
It's too cold. Too cold.
Yeah, but that is Virginia's weather. Always, everything, 4 seasons in one day. It's possible.
This is true. This is very true. So also, FYI, over on our Discord server, Scuba's Studio, we're live there too. It's more the audio side if you want to listen in there, if you can't listen in these other places. I think that's a lot of what we're doing, but losing my train of thought. Talk about something, you know.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen between Tuesday to Tuesday.
Yes.
So.
Oh, that's right. What's up?
What
you been up to?
What has been happening? Well, just a mixture of work, studying for this GRE, and randomness on the weekends.
Oh, random weekend. I don't have randomness, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I have plans, but then, you know, I just go and do things.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
You never know what's going to see or whatnot. So what kind of randomness did you do?
Well, no, like, specific randomness, just car serviced, movie watching, walk around the mall, and then get siphoned into sales, and then made it home to, you know, just a nice peace and quiet. This weekend was nice and just chill. Wasn't really too much going on. Did have a birthday party for my girlfriend Angelica's aunt. It was a 60th surprise birthday party, so that was nice. Saturday night. My usual run around Mount Trashmore, but there was a lot. The one thing I noticed this time, it happens. If you play Pokemon Go, there's a lot of Pokestops everywhere, but for some reason, Sunday was prime time on raiding, because there were so many people at Mount Trashmore on Sunday. So
I think there was some kind of special event or something.
Yeah, there was some special event, because I was like, it made me pop out my phone. Like, I already checked my, catch Pokemon while I'm going around the park, but like, I was like glued to my phone. It's like, oh, let me go ahead and do some of this stuff around here while I'm running and huffing and puffing. But then, yeah, and then finished it out with the football game. Sadly, the Packers lost, but, you know, my mom's team won, so go 49ers for my mom. So.
Yeah, Shadow, I don't know what's up with Mixer tonight. It's just not receiving.
Oh, yeah, it's not working.
So, yeah, kind of bummed on that. Should have worked. I don't know why it's not.
Oh, well. I'm not the technology guru like I used to be, so I just kind of go click and go.
Well, yep, rip Mixer. We'll see if maybe it'll go live on there next time. But although I will say we got nearly 100 views on the Mixer channel.
That's good.
And like a lot more here on Twitch.
Yeah, well, yeah, Twitch is a more not what that I was going to say a word, not that word, but it's a more recognizable name. Like you hear Twitch, a lot of people know it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, Mixer is their counterbalance, but you know, it's making its way.
Well, to be fair, Twitch hasn't changed their name in 5 years. Mixer, on the other hand, has changed their name every couple of years.
Oh yeah.
So.
But you know, Twitch is a good way to get out there. So follow us on Twitch.
Yep, follow us on Twitch. Follow us everywhere else you can. Pull the notes back up. Oh, yeah, a couple of quick things. Shout out to Syrinscape. Thank you for the soundboards and background music. And also, if you're tuning into the YouTube channel, The Witcher Episode 3 of Season 1, our review is up. So go check that out. I've had a few people talk to me about they've sought that. One guy is actually like, he thanked us because we put the spoiler in there because he hadn't seen the episode yet. So he's literally watching the episode, watching our review, watching the episode, watching our review. That makes me feel good.
That does make you feel good because what happens is that a lot of times when people, you know, they watch your TV reviews in general, you mention spoilers and then they get mad when they hear spoilers. At least there's an appreciation where people are like, okay, I know what to expect. I come after I watch.
Right, right.
But we do preface the fact that we will spoil the TV shows when we talk about them.
Yeah. So. Well, you know, fair warning.
Yeah.
But he did actually was appreciative because he saw, I think episode 2, he was really appreciative of how we had explained things that he didn't, to make him appreciate the episode more. So
yeah, tapping into that Geeks on Call, our Geeks on Call heartness.
Yes, yes. Is there anything else? So yeah, rip Packers.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah, it happens. You know, win some, lose some. But you know, this year was a surprise because it's a new head coach. I mean, we still have Aaron Rodgers, the god quarterback of all time, but you know, it was still a surprise to see them get this far into the playoffs. But you know, all is good. But I don't know if this happened between the podcasts. I did finish up that one story, the romantic story I said I've been working on.
Yes, there was a post on Facebook. You had gone through the first draft. You're working on the next draft of it now?
I finished the first draft, so it's like, woo! So I'm definitely going to go back and do some little bit of edits, and I'm already contemplating my next 2 story ideas. It's either going to be one that I left, you know, dangling out there, a coming-of-age tale. It was like a slice of life, but it's focused on one day, and it's like out of order. Kind of like The Witcher. Check out our reviews on YouTube. Or I was going to go a little bit further out the box, one kind of story. I've never written a psycho thriller, but do it from the serial killer's perspective.
I think there's a few out there, but I think that's definitely a small pool to get into.
Oh, yeah. But,
hey,
you know,
Saladin, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Alrighty. Now, for me, it's not been too terrible. Had the Airsoft stuff on the weekend, and the D&D game for the Airsoft crew on Sunday. Thank you, Saladin.
Thank you.
All right. Multitasking here. Got to get used to it. Bear with me. All right. So yeah, D&D game on Sunday. We actually played in here because been rearranging this room. Actually had everybody in here. We were able to play.
Okay.
One of our guys, he bought pizzas for everybody. So we
That's
had
good.
we had like the Pizza Hut buffet in a box. 2 of them.
So that's that one day average. Is it pizza? You said Pizza Hut, right?
Yeah, it's Pizza Hut.
Yeah. That box looks really I'm sorry to cut you, but that box looks like you would devour in happiness in that box.
It's a little big for me. It's a little big for me. It's the staff's night off. We've been putting in a lot of hours. So yeah, it was those Bigfoot boxes from back in the day when Bigfoots were a thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, one of them had 2 pepperoni and a cheese. The other one had breadsticks, a cheese pizza, and both types of pasta.
It sounds like
And also both desserts and like 3 2-liters of soda. I mean, it was like you're geeking out playing games. You're gonna eat pizza and drink soda.
It's like I need to do an extra round on the track the next day.
Yeah, definitely doing that. Airsoft was fun too, of course. As for other things around the house, it's been fairly quiet, which is somewhat of a good thing. Getting into that whole new year, new schedules, so that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
it is. It's that cold weather that's driving us crazy. Donut.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. How do you scare a person with long hair? You start that tune, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it, and then behind you go snip, snip, snip.
Oh yeah.
That's how you scare somebody with long hair.
Don't do it. Please don't. I love my hair. You know.
Alrighty. Well, I think we've been yammering on enough. Let's go ahead and roll into our first weekly segment, which is
something dealing with the movies.
Yep, the movies.
And that dial was the big screen.
Alrighty. That's pretty loud. Yeah, that one will get you.
Boom. Get you,
I'm
ears.
getting better at that whole Stream Deck thing. So here we go. Our first review for tonight is Let's see if I can get that to drop down a little bit next time.
Just a smidge.
Saladin's taking that one. That's okay.
We got it.
All right. Yeah. I'll have to check on that. So, first review. Let's get back on track.
Back on track.
So,
diving deep into anime for the first one.
Weathering with You.
Yes.
Well, what's this one?
This is the next anime film from the studio that brought you one of the big ones a couple years ago, Your Name. And Weathering with You centers around 2 characters by the name of Hodoka, a high school boy who runs away to Tokyo and befriends Hina, a girl who has the strange powers of manipulating the weather. So you have these 2 unique individuals, one, coming from the countryside to the city, and another one that has powers, and they kind of form a bond, friendship in the film. You know what that is. I'm all about.
You keep talking.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
Don't pay attention to me behind the screen.
The behind the screens, but yeah, this anime focuses on the friendship of these 2 individuals, and it's a mixture of a coming of age entrapped into a typical anime fantasy. So what you have is in the beginning of this film is a very just a generalization of the genre. So you get a lot of the typical circumstantial scenarios that happen with anime characters. Anybody that's a fan of anime know that when you get introduced into a new story or series, everything's kind of loose end. So they play off the tropes of outlandish characters, folly scenarios, and all that stuff. When the film actually kicks in is when they form their friendship and they use the Hodoka uses the powers of Hina for good. So she has the power. What has happened is that in Tokyo it's been raining endlessly, and people are hoping for sunlight, and she has the power to like end the rain and have the sunlight come. So they put out these requests online, and people they answer the request to do the sunlight. And what makes this film enjoyable is watching the coming of age story evolve through this like subtle use of magic and lore of the Japanese. And what you've come to find out is that even though they're doing things for good, there is consequences, real life consequences to the powers that they're using when they're manipulating the weather.
Gee, manipulate the weather.
Yeah.
What could the consequences be?
But what happens is that the fantastical blends very well with the characterization of these two characters, because it brings about the light, blindness within innocence, and finding yourself through all the struggles and hardships of living on your own.
Okay.
So, and what makes the film very enjoyable is the relationship, because you're going to find some innate connection to watching these people grow and finding their truth in the consequences that happen after using these powers.
Okay. That's actually a good one. Where can I find this film?
This film is actually in wide release in the U.S. theaters right now.
Whoa.
So it's still playing in the big theater, big chain. So it's a wide release. So it's available to anybody if you go to any theater right now.
All right. So what's the rating going to be?
This is definitely an enjoyable film to see. It's a good way for people that aren't familiar with anime to get into it, because it doesn't go too fantastical out there to the point you're completely lost. But it's very simplistic and predicates itself a lot on the anime tropes in the beginning. So overall, it's an enjoyable experience. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 matinee.
Matinee price?
Yeah.
Okay. What was its shortcoming?
The shortcomings is just the initial introduction. Like, the first half is just cookie-cutter, typical anime stuff. So it pretty much is very predictable in the folding nature of the characters and how they interact and come together.
Okay. Well, that's good with that.
Oh, yeah.
So, our second movie we're going to discuss is Booksmart. Ha-ha!
You flipped it on me.
Well, I can't be too predictable.
That's all right. But this one's unique because I instituted at the beginning of the year a thing I used to do, which is old school rewind reviews, where I would go back and review old releases, either that are on streaming or out on Blu-ray or requests. So
which one was this?
The old school rewind review is for a coming of age indie film that came out last summer called Booksmart.
Oh, so this is not that old.
No, but it's still old enough to where it's not a new release anymore. So
okay. So
these are one of the films, like if you've heard me on previous podcasts, there are films that fall through the cracks and then I have to watch later.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those?
This is one of those. So I recently watched this and I decided to go ahead and put my review up for it. And this film focuses on two characters, Amy, played by Caitlin Dever, and Molly, played by Beanie Feldstein, who is the sister of Jonah Hill, if you're familiar with Jonah Hill. So comedy runs deep in the family. So these two characters, Amy and Molly, they're in their last year of high school, senior year. They're graduating, and they think they're at the top of their class. They're going to get in all the best schools. And what they come to find out is that they're just... it's not what... everything about high school is not what it seems. So now, on one final night, they're going to try to cram in all the fun, party, and excitement into 1 year that they lost in 4. And pretty much the one night, a hilarity ensues.
Let's see. How many different stories have we seen this?
There's been plenty of teenage comedies that does that premise, but what makes this film stand out beyond those typical teenage comedies is that it uses those archetypes and cliches as a red herring to the actuality of the journey. Because what you come to find out is that when the film starts off, it starts out very typical teenage raunchy comedy. You have these two girls who seem like they are at odds with the rest of the cast of characters, which seem like they're typical high school character tropes. You know, you got your jocks, your cheerleaders, you know, all the typical high school characters you've seen in other movies. But like I said, there's a red herring. And the cliches are meant to take you off guard of what the actual purpose of the film is. And they introduced it really early in the movie, and Amy and Molly come to find out they have a revelation that the accolades of their graduating class are a lot more than what they had achieved. So you have all these people that seem like jocks and typical stoners and but they're actually smart. They actually cared about school. But the thing is, they cared about school, but also had fun. Whereas these two characters never had fun and think all they had to do was focus on studying. So because of that, they want to cram all the fun into one night, so they don't seem like they're at odds with the other characters, because they're basically on a more level playing field. And what it does, it flips that arrogance that you see usually in the rival characters and puts it on the main characters. So now you see the flaws in the characters, but also it brings out the subtle fragments of their friendship.
Huh.
So as much as it is, the humor is very blunt, witty, and very sarcastic and surreal, the satire that it puts the window on, the microscope puts the window on chasing your dreams against also, it's okay to have fun.
Well, I kind of like the tagline here. It's like in the picture you can see it says getting straight A's and giving 0 F's.
Yeah, they pretty much do not.
I mean, that kind of sets a good tone there.
Yeah. So with it playing the tropes as a unique twist, it creates a lot of unpredictability when they come across certain scenes and scenarios and interact with certain characters.
All right, so what are we calling this?
This is a very surprising film because it takes the typical teenage raunchy comedy and flips it on its head. Mm-hmm. So it makes you appreciate the journey of high school, but also understand that, you know, there's more than just chasing your dreams. You got to enjoy the moments. Fair. So overall, great lead cast, great side characters, and a great journey and a different take on the teenage comedy. Gave it a 4 out of 5 full price. I definitely would tell anybody that likes like Superbad and all those like American Pies. This is another one in that vein.
Okay.
But a different twist.
So more, and looks like the last line. This is out on Blu-ray now, so you can probably find it on the streaming services.
Yeah, it's out on Blu-ray. It might be on the streaming service, but I have it on. I picked it up on Blu-ray, so.
You always pick it up on Blu-ray.
Oh, I always do. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening there.
Yeah, I'm just checking the chat here. It's like, cool. It's off to a great start. Yeah. Tell your friends. Get them to subscribe. Get us to check us out.
Subscribe today, people.
All right, and now for the fun one. Movie number 3.
What is movie number 3?
Bad Boys, Bad Boys.
What you gonna do?
I'm obviously gonna go check this out after 17 years.
Yeah, 17 years. So you did hit the tagline on the head because
it came out on January 17th. 17 years since the last entry in the.
So much irony. So much irony. But you know,
now. I haven't seen this yet.
Okay.
You definitely saw this over the weekend.
Yes, I saw it on Saturday.
This one and Dolittle were the two big ones over the film.
Yes.
Oh, wow. We'll get to that in a second. Hold that thought.
Yeah, well, hold it. Breaking news later.
This one seemed kind of weird because, you know, the first one was like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
The second one was just over the top.
Oh, yeah.
And this one, it's like... This one just didn't catch my interest as much as like the second one did. The first one I think is absolutely great.
Yeah, well, the first one was just like you said. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, The first one is a classic within its own take. A lot of people see it as the quintessential, a buddy cop action film of the 90s. One of them, along with Rush Hour and Lethal Weapon. Like that's the third. In
Also,
that
we're talking,
echelon.
and then we're talking when the first one came out.
Yeah, 95.
Martin Lawrence and Will Smith were both coming off their syndicated sitcom type shows, Fresh Prince and Martin. So they had a lot going into this, and it was just hilarity. But okay, so what is up with this one? This one,
okay.
The commercials indicate that it looks like Mike is just doesn't want to grow up, just wants to like shoot and be a cop, whereas Marcus is like, I want to retire.
Yeah. So the what you find is you find these two characters, Mike Lowry, played by Will Smith, and Marcus Bennett, Martin Lawrence. They've been working for the Miami-Dade Police Department for a good 25 years. So now that they're in the latter days of their career, and like you said, Marcus wants to retire, but Mike Lowry wants to run amok and still, get bad guys.
Be Mike Lowry.
Yeah. So that contention actually adds an endearment to their relationship, because instead of just doing the same typical action comedy, going over the top and stuff, which does happen in the film, that their relationship and their progression of characters helps bring a good contrast to what is being presented in the film, because it's old versus new. You have these old guards that are trying to find their place, while the new guard in the police department are trying to show them that there's other ways instead of just running and gunning the streets like they used to do. So that old versus new helps bring a fresh take to this franchise, but also helps keep the two main leads prominent throughout the whole film. Okay. So what happens is that Mike Lowry and Marcus Bennett have to work together one last time, because something from Mike Lowry's past has come back to haunt him. So there is he was an undercover cop for a case before they ever became partners. So now those bad guys are out for revenge. So it's a typical cliche plot, but what this film is, it's very self-aware. So it realizes what it is and plays to the strengths of what the previous two films were, which is the camaraderie between the two characters and the comedy.
So if you enjoyed the on-screen chemistry of Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, how does this play into that on-screen chemistry?
It adds more layers, because like you said, this has been 17 years between the two, and it uses that 17 years as a prime for the crux of their relationship, because they are older guards, they are older cops, and they play that within the self-awareness of the film. Okay. But they also play it against the comedy, and this movie is so hilarious that it will catch you off guard, and it does a good mixture of comedy and drama, so everything just blends seamlessly.
So what would you give this one?
It's a very cliche, it's a very typical action comedy, but it is one that is very enjoyable from beginning to end. Even with the cliches and a couple of the stuff that, couple of the over the top sequences that happen in the third act, the relationship between the two main leads keeps you going and wants you to see more. Okay. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 matinee.
All right. So before we kind of get off this a little bit, how does this compare to the other films Will Smith did last year?
Are you talking about the two big ones that I
reviewed?
Yeah,
the two big ones that he had.
Okay.
I mean, he had 3 major this being the third major film. So how did he compare with that?
Excuse me. Compared to the other two, when it comes to enjoyment factor for me, this is a heck of a lot better than Gemini Man, because Gemini Man was just Gemini Man was a garbage film that only predicated itself on the technology. So it did not care about character, story, or anything.
Okay.
Comparing this to Aladdin is like compare apples to oranges. It's two distinct stylings of film, but what it showcases between Aladdin and this film is that Will Smith can still carry a film, can still bring in people in the masses because it made a lot of money. It made more money than it expected over the weekend.
Okay.
So, and the same thing that happened with Aladdin. It made over $1 billion, and nobody expected it to do that.
Okay.
So, I think it showcases that you can still have a draw, even in your prime of your career.
All right. Well, and so we got our 3 movies, and we have something else for this week, don't we?
Yeah. A return of a TV series review, which I haven't done one in a while.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
And you said you just finished the latest season on this one.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders season 5, which is available on Netflix. And season 5 is the last season up until this point. So what the overall story, overall arching story of Peaky Blinders is that it takes place between the first 2 world wars, and it focuses on the Shelby family, who run the criminal underground in Birmingham, England. So each season focuses on an aspect of watching them move up the ranks in the criminal underworld in Great Britain. So they come across the Italian mob, they come across certain factions from America, they have to deal with the UK government and conspiracies that are brought on by fascists and communists. So the more the seasons grow, the deeper the web that the Shelby family gets caught up into. And the main lead, Tommy Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. Isn't he the guy who played Scarecrow?
Scarecrow, he was in 28 Days Later. He's been in a few other films.
The Scarecrow is the one where the Nolan trilogy, he was Scarecrow, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But
I thought he looked familiar.
But Cillian Murphy is at his peak in this series. Overall in the series, you watch real growth of him being a leader from the first season to the last season.
All right, so let's focus on season 5.
Okay.
What's the major plot piece for season 5?
Season 5, it focuses on Cillian Murphy's character infiltrating the fascist party in New England. Not New England, but the United Kingdom. So the UK government has tasked him to infiltrate the fascist party, because you got to remember this takes place before World War II. So there's a lot of influences of the Nazis in other parts of Europe. So he is infiltrating the fascist party to the point to where he wants to take down this main bad guy. And watching it over the season, you realize the whole theme of season 5 is you can't trust anyone. And when it reaches the final episode, like, he thinks he has everything, situated to where he will be able to take out the main guy and get the win for the UK government. And something happens, and it leaves on a cliffhanger where he's left with a guessing game of, does he really know the truth about everything that he's been working towards?
All right.
So,
sounds like a good watch.
Oh yeah, it is.
What would you rate this?
Season 5, I would rate it as a 3 out of 5. It's not the strongest season because there's a lot of elements that seem obvious to a fault, because you have the infiltration, which is typical of any kind of like spy espionage film, and a lot of the main characters that have been carrying from season 1 to season 5, they've fallen into typical gangster roles, so it just seems very predicated. So season 5 is a 3 out of 5. Overall, the series, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
There's enough strong seasons that can outweigh the this season 5.
All right. That's definitely some good times.
And there's a lot of big names in this show, like throughout the seasons, and you'll recognize them when you see them on screen.
I'll have to try and make time to check that out. So we'll pause back over to the chat. You're same thing I'm thinking. The lead on that's a really good actor, right? I'm looking at that.
Shadow Mane.
Shadowman.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy's a great actor. He's one of those unsung heroes when it comes to film. He's been in a lot of films. I mean, everybody knows him for, Scarecrow in the Nolan films. But like I said, he's been in 28 Days Later. He's been in Inception. Very underrated sci-fi film, Sunshine. So, yeah, he's been in a lot of films.
Okay. Well, that's always good to know.
Yeah.
So we're going to...
Yeah,
okay.
True that. Yeah, everybody knows 28 Days Later. Like, when you hear his name, that's like the prime movie. Everybody.
Actually, no. From what I remember, that I can't place him in that film.
He's the lead actor.
Okay. Maybe it's been so long since I've seen it, but I've seeing him. The first thing I'm thinking is
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow.
Yeah.
So, I'll kind of see how that rolls.
Woo! Moving on, people. Moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Let's see. All right, so we're going to kind of shift over and get into our next segment. And for that, we're going to hit that button. Yeah, I can get
That's
that.
true. Yeah, that's why. That'd be a good reason.
All right, so now it's time for a State of Game.
State of game.
State of Game. Got a new background on there. So State of Game is that point where we talk about the games we're playing. So apparently in our chats, a few members of the D&D game that was from the past weekend. So I'm sure they'd like to hear some of this great creative craziness I came up with.
Okay. I'm just a passive observer.
Passive observer.
Passive observer. If y'all know where that's from, then you're awesome.
All right, so kicking this off to start off with as far as our State of Game. First thing is our video game plays.
That's where I kind of dabble in, since that's pretty much all I play when it comes to games.
I got to get you over here for some tabletop, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, video games, what you been playing?
Okay, well, the main two that I've been playing pretty much since last year and it's carried over into this year is Borderlands 3 and Outer Worlds. Well, I kind of just jumped between.
Tell me about Borderlands 3, man. I'm playing it, I'm doing all this complete stuff. Tell me some interesting stories.
Well, I haven't really progressed my story because my friends have started playing it, so we've been actually, playing as a group through their storylines, and it's really hard when you're playing with a group. Because the bosses tend to be more smarter, and they just want to just keep coming at you. So when you get to deal with certain elites, you get to deal with certain elites times 3 when it's a group. So yeah, I died when we ran on Friday night. I died a lot. But I got a lot of good weapons. So that's how I roll. But I have been progressing a lot in Outer Worlds.
No, keep talking. I don't know what he's talking about.
I've been playing a lot of Outer Worlds, but I've been playing on my Xbox. And I've moved on to another planet, Monarch, it feels like it's the Wild Wild West on that planet because, like I told you before the podcast, you have to be sure that you don't pull your gun out in certain areas. And, you think you can pay somebody off and steal their stuff, and then they go running out, and then you have to take out the town. So, yeah. It's the Wild Wild West on Monarch, but there's a lot. Monarch is a bigger planet, so there's a lot more missions, so there's a lot more stuff going on.
Alright, so how would you rate kind of the gameplay and the story? Is it still kind of nothing's really kind of shifted that much, or is it still just kind of your decisions will make or break you?
Yeah, your decisions will make or break the further you go into the game, the more you work through the different factions depends on your reputation increasing or decreasing in certain areas. So the decisions, what makes this game great is that you really are emotionally invested in the decisions you make, because the dialogue is very great when you're talking with people, and the character dynamic of your own team influences what you will do, because when you know about certain people's past and certain things about other factions, it makes you really mad and you just want to take them out, which I did do on one of the planets because I really didn't like the guy.
Of course you did.
But yeah, what I'm appreciating about this game is this game is a good mixture of storytelling and gameplay.
Okay.
Because there's enough dialogue to keep you engaged, but there's enough action to keep you going. So, like, this is by far, it's been a very enjoyable game playing so far.
Alrighty.
And I did pick up the Switch and play a little bit on there.
Oh, what'd you play on the Switch?
A bunch of different indie games, and I also played just a bunch of indie games. I can't remember the names, but they're like old school RPG games, so I felt really like nostalgic.
Did you see that thing where somebody made the GameCube controller to slide on with the Joy-Cons?
Yes, I want one.
Okay.
I want one.
I thought that was really cool too. So.
Okay.
Let's see. For me, did another round of Halo 5 with Penumbra and Raz.
Yep. So next time,
don't
forget me.
Yep. We'll try not to forget you. We got through missions. We got all the way up to mission 8. And that was the point where you're kind of going to talk to Halsey because you're on St. Helios, trying to get to that Guardian. So, but it was more or less just trying to find all the little odds and ends, and some of those are really hard to find. I mean, I think we spent like a half an hour running around that Sangeli camp just trying to find things.
Yeah, that game will make you go off the edges and be like, oh, what's over here? Oh, no.
needs that classic,
yeah. Exploration can be the bane of your existence in a lot of games.
And then I picked up a new game. I tried out a new game, and that was the Jurassic World Evolution game.
I have the game piqued my interest for a little bit, and then when I saw some of the game reviews out there, I was like, I'm gonna wait to see somebody closer to me.
It's on gold. It's on the free games with gold for this month, so I grabbed it. And if you're used to playing games like SimCity or any kind of resource build and management, that's what this is. What really struck me as hilarious is the amount of cast they got. Like, there's right from the start, you have Ian Malcolm giving you your intros. You come to the first of the 5 islands to start building up your preserve.
Okay.
And then Owen Grady's in there as well. So it's like, I don't know if it's actually Chris Pratt voicing him or somebody who's doing a really good imitation, but it is Jeff Goldblum doing Ian Malcolm. So it's just like,
you couldn't have anyone else, you know?
Yeah, but you gotta research fossils to get the genetic material to do the dinosaurs. You have to manage how much power each place uses, and you have 3 different segments that you're trying to balance, like security, research, all that to make your park not only profitable, but to build up your ability to handle the more difficult dinosaurs as you get to creating them. So I spent a few minutes playing that while I was waiting for Raz and Penumbra so we could do the Halo 5 thing. So I'm not too far into it.
Okay.
But considering I do like a lot of those strategy games, a lot of those just kind of resource, let it play. I mean, I do tend to prefer that more on like an iPad, a touchscreen versus a console. So
yeah, I tried out a simulation on the console. I was like, this ain't the place for it. So.
No. But other than that, so that was video games. So I guess we can go ahead and roll into the D&D side.
This is where the floor is yours, and I am the passive observer.
You're the passive observer. All right. So this weekend's group was the quote-unquote Airsoft D&D group. They've really got to find a new group name, but we'll get to that. So, to catch people up who have not heard, there was the character Dude, Delta Uniform Delta Echo. That's why I'm giving you guys the option to pick a new name. So, Dude had decided that, after getting yet another gargoyle minion started,
Okay.
it was probably best that, or probably realizing that his politics and the party's politics didn't exactly lead to the same location. So he went off on his own, to continue to build his army and work on his plans.
Yeah.
Left the party amicably. There's no hostility toward each other. But now dude is off near Neverwinter building up his army, and we're thinking that some kind of shenanigans will play with that. He might actually, use a castle lined with gargoyles for the walls. And I jokingly called that Metroplex. So, a few days after this, the party finds a campsite and decides to bed down for the night. And for y'all watching, I've got a map.
There's a map on the screen.
I've got a map.
I have guidance.
All right, so
You have the power.
we have this map. We have where they're camping, and while they're camping in that main area, another pair of individuals, which is Raz and Penumbra, because Penumbra has decided to express interest in joining the group.
Yeah.
They were camping, I would say, about a quarter mile away, far enough where you can't easily see, but you could hear.
Yeah.
But at night, you can, depending on what happens. So we have this group, which had a caravan, was roughly 10 NPC strong. And then the party is sitting there trying to protect it as they move toward Luskin. So as they're camping and getting ready for the night, a couple of rolls, and they manage to avoid a pair of wandering ogres that pass between the camps. On the party side, we have our ranger, Lilin, who has made sure that everything is good for the camp so that it can't be easily seen. And then on the other side, the Pops, he's like, we don't need a fire, so we'll eat cold rations, we'll be good. Oh, the night carries on.
Okay.
And then it gets to be about midnight. Now in the map, on the northeastern side, there is a grouping of wildflowers. These wildflowers happen to be a type of weed called shimmerweed.
Okay.
And when the moonlight hits it, it causes any creature that sees it to become confused. So you have a whole dazed and confused option. Now, the guys on watch, one was not affected, and two of them were affected.
Okay.
Because Pops had heard the noise or whatever, was going to investigate. So he came down and came in on the north side of the shimmerweed. Meanwhile, to the party on the inside of the shimmerweed see it, and then one gets confused, one doesn't. So as they're trying to figure out what's going on with that, from the south, a monster attacks. And this is a monster that is kind of like this tentacled horror in the game. And so now the party is awoken up and have to fight this creature with these 30-foot long tentacles that is just wreaking havoc all throughout the campsite.
Okay.
At one point, 4 of the caravan members and Lilin are all wrapped up in tentacles. And the party is just having a hell of a time beating this up. They ended up going into some alternative tactics.
Okay.
Our half-orc companion who hates doors decided to take that rage of hating doors and apply it to what the doors are made of. And chops down a tree, angling it so that it lands on the creature, causing bludgeoning damage, which is helpful.
Yeah, it does help.
But then Pops' companion comes in, his name is Azrael.
Okay. All right.
Yep. It's a comic book reference.
Yes,
I
know
that reference. You're on the right track. So he comes in, and he just comes in like a bright light out of nowhere. It has this radiant thing that just makes him grow bright, and he starts attacking, and the party as a whole is doing like incremental damage, but they've done enough to where they get the creature to retreat back south to his hole, which is a kind of a quicksand thing.
Okay.
In doing so, the party also managed to save Lilin and 3 of the caravan people. 1 caravan person they couldn't save.
Okay.
He was still in the tentacle. So they decided to take the practical approach and give the guy a quick death so he doesn't suffocate or drown or whatever. So Nerdom kind of lost a sword in the process because he just chucked it. But interesting thing about this, once this is all done, now the party has to deal with the fact that yes, poor sword. The party now has to deal with the fact that they got Pops and Azrael in the clearing.
Okay.
They've managed to get the entire caravan up. Now keep in mind, this is still like 12:30 at night. This is the middle of the night, and the whole area of the woods is like not a safe place to travel at night.
Yeah.
But they're going to travel because they realize they'll probably take their chances in the woods than take their chances with the Windless, which is the name of the creature that is nearby. Now, that's where we'll pick up next time.
Okay.
So we'll see how this interaction goes. But
more
for
mystery
the story, interesting thing to talk about is the other night I was watching a live stream for work to kind of get an idea what was up, and over here in this background area, I've got all these old classic D&D things. Right, you can see it over Ry's head there, all the boxes. Well, in the orange boxes are the old dungeon mags that TSR put out. Yeah. And they all had adventures. And I was reading over and I found this one called Mayhem at Midnight. And I was so inspired. I took it and converted it up from 2nd edition to 5th edition.
Okay.
And had to rework a couple of the monsters. Realizing as I'm doing this that I probably made the monster a little too powerful. Oh, the description is something like an octopus, but when I read the octopus and the rocktopus, I didn't feel it was very powerful. So I found a creature from the Underdark.
Underdark? That already sounds bad.
Yeah, it was AC at 20, hit points somewhere in the north of 100. But it wasn't bad. And then the confusion spell that's cast by the plants. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, well,
the AC was 20.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you to take him out. I'll be that passive.
But I started to fudge a few things, realizing that I thought for sure the party could hit harder, and at times they do when they do connect. But this one they just had a hard time connecting. He really had a hard time connecting. So it was good. I mean, they used a lot of unconventional tactics. I think one person decided to stick her arrows in the fire to make flaming arrows and shoot.
Oh, that's a good tactic, I guess. Yeah,
well, they didn't hit the creature, but they did illuminate around the creature. And Azrael's got this sword that magic item we created on the spot.
Yeah.
It's a great sword that he can light up with fairy fire, and when he attacks a creature with it, if the creature fails a dex save, then the creature then becomes illuminated in fairy fire.
Yeah.
Now in D&D, fairy fire does not cause damage, but it outlines you in. All right. The fairy fire will illuminate you to all that could see.
Yeah.
Short of magical darkness, you will be illuminated. So it was like all of a sudden they could see this creature in its full horror glory as it started to retreat. And they managed to sever a few tentacles. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, the fight could have definitely gone way in the other direction. But now the party has to decide, are they going to chase it down to finish it off because they actually met the hit point requirement to get the creature to run away?
Yeah.
And see what possible treasure might be in there? Or they're going to rush off into the woods, which opens up all those random encounters in the forest.
Random encounters can be fun.
I like them.
Or detriment to society. Whatever works.
Some reason they don't like the way I do random encounters. I go around the room. You roll a d20. If you get an 18 or better, then hey, you run into the encounter.
Then roll an 18, people. I don't know. Yeah,
Then don't roll high.
Sounds logical to me.
Anyways. I got that hidden because, that Discord thing.
Don't fear the unknown.
It's not scary. It's good gameplay because the dice giveth and the dice taketh away.
Yes.
Because there were a lot of times. Yep. Alright, so.
Ha ha ha.
Next game on the docket is Agents of Short this weekend.
No, that is prime for awesomeness.
Should be good. Agents of Short is on Sunday, and the Go-Go Happy Time is on Saturday. So
Go-Go Happy Time is the teen one, right?
No, Go-Go Happy Time is the Warhammer Wrath and Glory story.
Okay.
I'm probably going to be a little late to that because of my new work schedule.
Yes.
Because I am now an official member of the Balahak staff.
Yes, you are.
So
you are Balahak. Hear you roar.
I wouldn't say that.
Roar.
But, so our next game to talk about, since we mentioned Balahak, is Airsoft gameplay over the weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories from Airsoft.
Always got stories from Airsoft. And, again, for those watching, I've got a map.
Another map on display.
Well, it's a little easier now. You have context when I talk about places like Cannibal Village and the LZ and the Halfback.
Oh, yeah, it gives a
you
good idea.
kind of see this breadth and scope of the field. So, gotta go over to check my notes here again real quick. So, Saturday gameplay.
Sorry, people. Sneeze.
Always gotta be a critic, Saladin. I'll work on making the map better next time. Alright. Saturday gameplay. The two major events are the attack and defend game.
Yep.
And the scenario. So for attack and defend, we have our attackers and our defenders. The defenders would spawn out of the LZ in the south and be up in the town trying to prevent the attackers from finding 3 cases. Who needs a map? Alright. The attackers were split into 2 groups. One group would come out of Cannibal Village to the west, and the other half would come from the halfback bunker in the north.
Yes.
Their respawn is the halfback bunker.
Okay.
So in the town there are 3 cases. Small cases, about yay big.
Okay.
They had to find those 3 and take them all the way north to the North Fire Base.
Okay.
Now, once the attackers got all 3 cases, they would lose their respawn. It's where all they could use is their medics. The defenders, their respawn would move up to the MiG, which is just at the entrance by the Saab on the map. So this is where one of those... Yeah. So this is one of those moments where the weather and the environment will dictate how this game ends.
Okay.
Because at this point, the 3 cases we get through, and it takes them all to find the cases. They finally find the cases, and they get them up to the north. Well, over the past week, we had rain.
Oh, yeah. We did have a lot of rain.
Driving out to the field Saturday, there was actually several points I had to kind of move because the water had crept out of the swamp and was covering the road.
Okay.
Well, the north is notorious for being a muddy, mucky mess. And it hasn't really dried out in the last month, so it is still quite muddy.
Okay.
The Moses Trail is virtually underwater at this point. There's a lot of mud. There's a lot of mud paths along the center there. So, yeah, there's a lot of mud. There's a lot of mud along here. So this is while they're trying to get to the north. They come up and they manage to get a good flanking around the eastern side, coming in from around the kingdom. The problem is the attackers had actually set a line pretty much straight across and was able to hold the line, and the defenders just couldn't get past the mud. Some of them weren't all that crazy about diving through the mud in the swamp. So the attackers won that round. But it was definitely difficult for the attackers because they lost their respawn and they had to rely on the medics. If the defenders rallied one more time and pushed with everything, they probably could have wiped the attackers out and took the game.
There you go.
But
that didn't happen.
Not this time. Then we go through lunch, and then we go into our scenario game. Now the scenario, this is where we get things a little interesting. They actually implemented several role player elements.
Oh yeah, role playing is good.
Yep,
it's fun.
All right, so we have 3 teams. We have the red team, blue team, and the peacekeepers.
Okay.
Red team started in Cannibal Village. Blue team started at the LZ. So kind of over here and over here.
Okay.
So, and then the peacekeepers started in the town. Red team had to get 3 HVTs to the Foursquare Conics in town, lovingly called the Thunderdome by some people. The blue team had to get their 3 HVTs to the RV, which is over by the Right Hook Trail.
Okay.
They had to go through the town to do this. And the town, the peacekeepers, could prevent them from going through.
Okay.
So they had to negotiate their way through. So the peacekeeper was a small force, 10 or 12 people max, and they were split up all throughout the town.
Okay.
They got extra healing abilities and whatnot because it's a small group.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 guys stationed at the south entrance of the town had decided to stop blue team, and blue team was like, all right, hey, we just want to pass through town, no big deal. And then, people got a little sketchy, and then they shot the peacekeepers. Meanwhile, on the north end of town, where the red team passed through via the pond bunker, they just went running and gunning and took out the peacekeepers on that side of town. So the red team is trying to get their HVTs in, but they're taking forever. Blue team gets all 3 of theirs in. 5-minute timer goes off, and then they've got to make it up to the north to take control of the North Fire Base. Because once each team had their HVTs for the amount of time, then it was a point control on the North Fire Base. So about 10 minutes in, blue team is already on their way. Red team is still struggling. Now the peacekeepers seem a little out of the fight at this point, but they actually had several side objectives of their own. I think we call this some real CIA kind of shenanigans. They were tasked with, not only did they have to try to prevent hostilities within the town, but they were also supposed to take out at least 1 HVT from both sides. And then once blue team got their HVTs up, there was a frag order, which is kind of an audible, hey, do this next. Yeah. Where peacekeepers had to go down the North Pond Trail to retrieve Larry the alien on the stretcher and bring him back.
I saw that name Larry and brought back some memories from a video you shared.
Out the window.
Save him.
So peacekeepers actually achieved all their objectives.
Yeah.
And blue team had North Fire Base on lockdown because the red tape could not get their HVTs in the Thunderdome. And by the time they did, their HVT kept getting killed. And the HVT had to be medicked. Couldn't go back to respawn.
Okay.
So, that was fun. And everybody seemed to have a good time. It was nice because it was adding that roleplay element.
Yeah.
So, got to see some of that. And, of course, seeing that interaction with, it's not just, oh, hey, I'm going to run and shoot. It's, okay, I could possibly, talk my way out of a situation. And then we roll into Sunday. Now, with my new schedule, I stay on the field later on Sundays. Or this past Sunday. So I was able to be a part of the attack and defend game for Sunday. Okay. Now, the guy who GA'd, he played Saturday. Yeah. So he basically took the same layout for the attack and defend game and ran it again with one major difference. Instead of having to find 3 cases, they had to find a cell phone.
Yeah, see.
One cell phone.
What kind of cell phone? Like a flip phone?
No, it was one of the older BlackBerry style where it had the full keyboard on there.
Okay, I get it.
But it was in the town, and the attackers had to find that and take that to the North Fob. So now it's needle in a haystack trying to find. So that game got kicked off and started. Same layout. Attackers were split. Half started in the cannibal, half started half back. Respawn was half back. Defenders started in the LZ. And respawned in the LZ and then had to control the town. So it was enjoyable.
Yeah, trying to find a cell phone. Yeah, that definitely does.
Oh yeah, it was a little silver cell phone, but yay big. So
yeah,
good times for that one. And that is what I got for State of Game.
State of Game. Yeah, hopefully I'll get some more games in the rotation because I did purchase Days Gone, which I purchased a while ago. So
I've been waiting for some stories on that because that's got a really interesting thing, and it's one of those feels kind of open world, so you can have your own unique little adventures as well as you're going through the story.
And then there's a few others that on the Xbox I want to dabble into.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, revisit GTA 5.
Oh, yeah, GTA 5.
And then I know there's a few others that are on the Game Pass that just dropped, so I definitely want to check them out. Because with everything getting pushed back, I need something to play.
Yeah. I could totally see that. So, you can kind of go in about an hour and 10 minutes in. Or shall we go next? About an hour in. I mean, do you want to go ahead and just roll into odds and ends, or is this something you want to chat about? The floor is open.
Floor is open. We can. Well, speaking of delayed games, one of the bigger releases coming out this year got delayed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, there's two listed here, but the one that I'm looking forward to, I'm kind of sad that it got pushed back.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because it was one that I was really looking forward to playing before I even dabbled into my master's program.
Oh,
really? And where the month that it got pushed into just going to make it harder to play. Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, yeah, that did get pushed back.
Yeah. So it was supposed to come out in April, but now it's got pushed back to September.
Well, didn't Final Fantasy VII also get pushed back a month?
Yeah, well, Final Fantasy VII got pushed back a month, but I'm not really as anticipating. I'm not as excited for that game as I am for Cyberpunk, because it's made by CD Projekt Red, who made
Witcher. Yes.
Yeah, The Witcher 3,
totally.
Which is I praise that game like it's my firstborn. So But yeah, that I mean, out of the two that are being delayed, that is the one that really hit my heart because I was looking forward to that game.
Okay.
But
yes. Oh yeah, and what didn't also Dying Light 2 get pushed back?
yeah, it's another big game in if you're a big fan of like the zombie games and the survival horror, this one got pushed back. Just like Cyberpunk, further down the line. I don't even think it got a release when it's going to be released. It just got pushed. It got delayed. So along with
Oh yeah. Shadow's got a comment there. Yeah. Probably indefinitely.
So like it's like the last few weeks has just been article after article about games being pushed back from, like you said, Final Fantasy VII Remake to the Avengers game to Cyberpunk. It's just like, okay, everything that was going to be released just gets going to push back.
Well, that puts it for a good thing. A lot of times though with the video game side, if a game is delayed,
it is always a good thing. That's the only plus, because it polishes. There's a polish.
Yeah, they spend more time getting stuff tightened up, which is good. Unlike, well, Cyberpunk, we've been waiting for like a decade.
Yeah, and it's been waiting a while, but a few more months ain't gonna hurt.
If they've had so much time to work on that game, I just can't see why they would delay that one. But it actually brings up an interesting thing. The film side, when you get extra delays doesn't always yield good results.
Well, it depends. Like, whereas with games, it usually means positive results, where it's a mixed bag. It leans further into, it might not be good if they push it back. Because that happens with a lot of films. Like, Dark Phoenix got pushed back a lot.
That's because,
yeah.
a lot, and
Yeah.
they push it back because they do reshoots and whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes that actually ruins the movie. Like,
Yeah.
thankfully, some stuff were coming out, like New Mutants is coming out soon.
That is.
And it looks like that one, they, instead of trying to go through a lot of reshoots and recuts, they went back to the original cut of the film when they finished. And so this is where we're going with that.
Yeah. But that pushback was not delayed because of, film circumstances or, conflict with the studio. That's because of a purchase. Disney purchased Fox, and they did not know what to do with the property.
Yeah, but they're delaying it as much as they did. But then there's movies like Dolittle.
Yeah.
Like, one of the articles we were discussing was the fact that this weekend, Bad Boys for Life and Dolittle both were the major releases for the weekend. Bad Boys for Life did really well in the box office. Dolittle was a complete disaster.
Yeah, it bombed. Its budget was 175. It only made 22 million.
And part of some of the buzz coming out of that was a movie that was heavily reshot and rewritten.
Yeah. Yeah, yikes indeed. That happens a lot with big budget films that get pushed back. Shadow Man.
But Dolittle was like, and one of the things with Dolittle is the fact that there was so much emphasis on the animals talking that's how they handled the reshoots. Is they just synchronized the voice and the dialogue to where it just is like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I can't speak too much because I didn't see it, but just from the overall impressions from critics and audience members, it's pretty much a trash feast all around. And especially how that final act ended. Like I had to go out and read because I keep hearing what it was, and then when I read it, it's like, dang. I wouldn't mind Robert Downey Jr. going back to playing Iron Man. Just make up an excuse to bring Iron Man back, just because this is not the way for him to go.
No, I think it probably started off really well.
Yeah.
But it's the constant reshoots and retooling of the script, and the fact that they took some of that away from using the actors again to using the voice actors and the animated animals to fill in those shortfalls, I think really killed that. I think if they focused less on that and focused on reusing the actors, or maybe just as like, why go through the constant reshoots and retooling of the story? I mean, you had a script when everybody started. I mean, I don't get it, but I think I agree with you. Delaying video games tends to yield better results. Delaying movies pretty much put it in the grave.
Yeah. A lot of times when you hear movies being delayed, it's because there is interference of some kind. The rarity is when you actually see movies get moved up. And that has happened. That doesn't happen very often, but when a movie gets moved up or moved to certain parts of the year because of moves to certain parts of the year, like say if you hear a delay, okay, it's going to be bad. But you hear when it gets pushed to, say like in the November time frame, that means that the studio has real positive buzz of it, because that's the time frame for the award seasons, that latter part of the year. So when you hear a pushback to October, November, December, positive results. Get pushed back to September, because for those who don't know, there are what we call dumping grounds in the calendar year for movies, which is usually January, Dolittle, and late August, mid September. Okay. So whenever you hear delays, and if you hear that part of the year, that gives you a red flag.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little tidbit to y'all.
Cool.
Some of the underbelly-ness of the film community.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good. Try to talk about something more than have a little chat. So as we kind of fill in and move through. So let's move into odds and ends.
Oddies and indies. On World News Tonight, I love that music. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm Ron Burgundy at the studio. It's like, welcome, Chesapeake.
Alrighty, so we got odds and ends. One of those things where we find random stories on the internet and we kind of look through them and give our reactions.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Sometimes the rabbit hole is too deep. Sometimes it's just right on the surface.
Right on the surface. All right. So, let's see. Let's see what our first one is. Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's, a lot of people like Ben and Jerry's. They have all that different flavors.
Oh yeah, they seem to come out with the various things, and I think Ben and Jerry's. I think recently, like with Infinity War, talking about the Avengers flavors ice cream.
You wanna taste that Hulk and Thor. Feel the blonde hair moving through the veins.
But here now they've come up with Netflix and Chilled.
Yeah, Netflix and Chilled is a brand that is it's a partnership brand between the two brands.
Netflix and Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
Okay, what's in Netflix and Chill?
The new flavors, quoting CNET, the new flavor features peanut butter ice cream dotted with pretzel pieces and bits of fudge brownies, so it blends salty and sweet. End quote.
It sounds like a dentist.
It's now available globally in pints and in Ben & Jerry's scoop shops. So you got to go chase down the Ben & Jerry's. I think there's a couple around here.
Okay.
I think there's one on Great Neck. I think there's one on Great Neck Road over in Virginia Beach.
Oh, let's go check that out.
I'm going to go find it
I
now.
don't know if I really want to do that.
I will. I'll do it for both of us. On Netflix and chill.
Okay.
With my ice cream.
Alright, so for this next one, I'll set this one up because it's just so funny. Last week there was a fundraiser for Skittles' school.
Yes.
Over at the local Chili's. Now, Skittles and I went, had dinner together, and one of the things in my menu was corn on the cob. Right? And I was thinking, what could make eating corn on the cob more fun? And then you or Angelica or somebody sent the inspiration for that. And that is corn on the claws. What the heck, man?
Hey, now, in the world of nerdiness, sometimes you gotta combine food and nerddom. And
really?
In this case, trying to be healthy while chopping it up like Wolverine sounds pretty efficient to me.
Wolverine claws, corn on the cob, skewers. I mean, this is like right up in there with the whole Star Trek Enterprise pizza cutter.
Oh yeah, as reported on NerdBot, quote, these are a GameStop ThinkGeek exclusive and are set to ship on January 29th.
Figures.
And is only $9.99.
I have that right into my serial killer knife stand and my Cylon Snowbot.
Speaking of random purchases, my curry pillow should be coming in soon.
Oh.
So that will be on set, folks.
You have been saying that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but I did buy it that night.
I know you did.
I did buy it.
You did buy it.
So, just waiting for it. You might see a pink head right here next time. Eating my hair.
All right. So, I don't have a picture for this one, but this is a bit of sad news.
Sadness, people.
Turns out Christopher Tolkien passed away.
Yes.
The ripe young age of 95.
Oh yes. The son of famed J.R.R. Tolkien passed away Thursday.
And he's pretty much been like the steward of all the Middle Earth library of lore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was left to finish up a lot of the stuff that his father left. So he finished up like the Silmarillions. He gave us a lot of the appendices and a lot of the extra other stories that flesh out the rest of the world. So,
sounds like fun. Now for our last story here, this is a bit more local for those of us in the Hampton Roads area. And it's a fish story. No, seriously though. This is a story about a guy who's striped bass fishing and looks like he has clinched the world record for the largest striped bass caught.
Oh yes, as reported on our one of our local news outlets, Pilot Online. The fish measures 122 centimeters.
Which is roughly just over 4 feet. It's a big fish.
Yes, so it is a world record. And it's a big fish, so it could feed a lot of people.
Now, an interesting thing for this is this was a catch and release, so we will not be seeing... This specimen will not be adorning somebody's wall or feeding the table anytime soon.
That would have been a nice, good chunk of ahi tuna right there.
But it's not a tuna, it's a bass.
I would make it work. I'll make it happen.
I know you would.
Yes, I have that kind of powers.
So yeah, 4-foot striped bass caught off the eastern shore at Cape Charles in a state-sponsored striped bass fishing tournament.
Oh yeah, so that's a huge
fish.
that is a huge fish.
It's a big fish.
That could feed a lot of people right there.
See, that's the person he could sit there and literally say, "It was this big."
Yes, sir. Super big fish.
But yeah, the interesting thing on the article for that is it talks about this was recent and during a lot of increased restrictions and for the fishing community, which we're actually going to talk about a little bit more in our Patreon chat tonight.
Yeah.
Actually have a topic to talk about besides just coming off the high that is the enjoyment of doing the show.
And a few other things along with that, because that's going to be interesting to talk about.
Oh yeah, that and just again the randomness of life
and the tidbits that were put in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, definitely gonna have to follow up with that. So try and keep those chatters around up in the when we shift over. So anything else? Anything else come up? Anything else pique your interest to sit there and chat about?
there was some breaking news right before we started.
Oh, really? What was that?
A little bit of left swerve, not typical of our chats because this is sports news.
No, esports?
No, baseball.
Baseball.
Okay. So the class of 2020 for the Hall of Fame was introduced today.
Oh, really?
Derek Jeter and Larry Walker have been elected to the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well, congratulations to them.
Yes, I'm really happy to see one of these guys go in because I am not a Yankees fan, but the one Yankee that I rooted for, while he was at the prime in his career, was Derek Jeter, because he was a great sportsman. He was a great person off the field, and he represented what it means to be a baseball player. He was one of the best at his position, shortstop for the Yankees.
Okay.
And Larry Walker played most of his career for the Colorado Rockies. So it's
Nice.
good to see another unsung hero get elected to the Hall of Fame.
Hey, that's what's the nice thing about the sports.
Yes.
Especially people who do their craft and do it well.
Oh yeah. So congratulations to both Derek Jeter and Larry Walker.
All right.
That's
well,
2020.
I think with that we'll go ahead and transition over. So let's go
Shake
through
and
our
bake.
contact stuff.
Let's do it.
Take it away, Ry.
You can find me on Instagram under Incubus Trav. Send me a friend request. Find all my photos there.
Keep going.
Also, you can follow Scuba at ScubaCod on all the major social platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything else in between. You can subscribe to Scuba Studios on Facebook/Scuba Studios. Give us a like and check out the Scuba and Ry Facebook group where you can view links to the articles we discuss here and other ones in between. And also you can make a request for things. You can find us on patreon.com on the Scuba Studios. Support the studio and the show and get exclusive access to early content and everything in between.
Yes. If you like the show and want to support the show, definitely check us out. Patreon.com/Scuba Studio.
Check us out.
Also, you can email us at scubastudio@gmail.com. Give us feedback and suggestions. And as we alluded to before, the YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and look for Scuba and The Ry or Scuba Studio. There you can check out the VODs for this, which are released roughly a week after we record. Also, additional videos like the Mandalorian Season 1 episode reviews or The Witcher Season 1 episode reviews. By all means, please check it out. Give a like, give a subscribe, hit the notification bell so you be notified when more content's released, and share it out. Spread the love.
Yes,
Let's get some more people to check out, and
more viewership means more content. So hopefully more TV shows, more top 10s.
yes, because that's the thing. If there's a suggestion on a show,
yes,
for our next show to review, now would be a good time to try and figure that out.
Yeah, email us any suggestions. We'll talk about it.
Alrighty. And with that, go ahead and transfer it over. If you're already a Patreon member, stand by because we're shifting over to Discord's Patreon chat where we'll continue this conversation.
There we go.